One of my favorite things about Star Rail has been the fact that the game developers have been able to introduce many different mechanics and many different ways to play the video game to the point that there is a sort of diversity of playstyles. You can always go with a traditional build and go crit rate. There's also follow-up attacks, characters that specialize in using their ultimates, or my personal favorite playstyle, going DOT. So, naturally, now that we have a new path coming up on Star Rail with the Remembrance, I could not be more excited. Having a new path being added into the game means a plethora of possibilities, and while I have an idea as to what the new path may be based on, given certain hints, nothing is concrete. So, I would like to take this quick moment to remind you all to please not put any leaks in the comment section. Do you understand? Or are we gonna have a problem? Nah, but all jokes aside, I definitely just enjoy the whole speculation of things, and this video, more than anything, has been an inspiration for me to bring up a couple ideas that I would love for them to be added into the game, and I just thought they would be interesting, which, to be fair, a lot of these are borrowed from other RPGs, which could be either made into a mechanic for like a limited time event, simulated universe, or just into a character's kits because it would be funny. So yeah, with all this, I would like to present to you 5 game mechanics I would love to see in Star Rail. Coming in at number 5, we have the lanes system that is seen in The Ruined King, a League of Legends story. It is personally a mechanic that I have adored and ruled over, I'm not gonna lie, while playing the game, but the main reason why I would definitely adore something like this to be added is because it gives even more incentive to speed tune your characters for certain scenarios. For those that might not understand exactly, in the lanes, sometimes if you were to land a character in a very specific part of the turn order, you would be getting buffs or debuffs depending on what was the current effect going on, and it would benefit you in doing more damage. It gave the game a sort of extra layer of strategy, and it made it so that you could use different type of abilities as well, because you could use either a powerful strike that would take you longer to cast, a speed attack which would be, a lot easier for you to get an extra turn later, or a normal attack which was essentially your just standard attacks. In all honesty, I remember seeing this, I think for the first time, in speed tuning your turns through Pokemon Legends Arceus, but I didn't really understand it that well when I was first experiencing it. I feel like, yes, it was kind of easy to tell what was happening because of the turn order they provided you. It was still complicated knowing what your speed meant in the grand scheme of things. So being able to see it in there through that mechanic was great. And in all honesty, I feel like this is something that could potentially be done through the game because we already have the action order visually available to us on the top left of the screen. And during the Heliobi event, we kind of got this mechanic where if your character acted in a very specific turn, which you would usually speed tune through your ultimate, they would be getting extra benefits, and you needed to avoid enemies from getting these benefits, which I do find it to be a really good way of balancing out this thing where any unit can potentially just buff itself. So it would take a little bit of practice and again tuning, part of me likes the idea of having a whole range of time frame where you can get buffs for it or penalized for it, but it would encourage so much speed tuning with like Bronya, potentially more Sparkle than anything. But no, like that is something that I would want. It would encourage like a sort of weird advance forward meta. It would also make it so that Dance 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 Lycone might just be quite an interesting thing to build on top of the, I forgot what it, like this relic set is, but it's like the wind set, which also advances you forward. I would definitely like to see something like that into the game, especially if they were to add different sort of attacks into the game. So this leads me to my next point, which is having different variations of attacks. Well, I know that all of the current characters wouldn't necessarily be changed. Something that I would have enjoyed, in particular for destruction characters, is for them to have more of this jack of all trades sort of mechanics added onto them, because we know that they are good with dealing with somewhat small groups of enemies. Like, they excel best not against one enemy, because that is the hunt's whole job, and they're also not really good at destroying just massive waves of enemies, because that is the erudition's job. So something that still has stuck in my mind has been the physical Trailblazer, for as odd as it might be, and it's purely on the fact that their ultimate was something that you could either use as a single target move or a blast target move, giving the player a sort of choice in what kind of action they could have based on the current environment is great, and giving more options to the player is always something that I will encourage. We kind of got, I want to say that we got that as well with Fei Xiao, but Fei Xiao is really just, hey, you do more damage when the enemy doesn't have a shield, and then you do more damage when the enemy does have a shield. So I wouldn't really count that one, but that is something that definitely came into my mind, and that I definitely would like to see be implemented into the game regardless. The main idea behind this, though, is that I would like to see this be sort of implemented with my previous statement. Yeah, this is kind of like a combo thing, because imagine if we were able to do empowered attacks on a character, which would make it go, you know, like, because you empowered your move, your character is now delayed on their action turns, and maybe he had to consume more skill points, similarly to Danhang. But inversely, you can make it so that you can use their skill and not consume any skill points, so it does less damage, but now next time they act a lot quicker. I think that would be just generally a fun mechanic and something to experiment. Real quick, before we continue on with this video, I want to say thank you guys for helping us reach nearly 3,300 subscribers. Every single time I make one of these videos, I keep looking at the subscriber count, and I keep being amazed and like just super happy, elated even, you could say. And I'm just so glad that we have this community in terms of like talking about game design, in terms of talking about lore in particular. I'm a huge sucker for it, and I'm definitely exploring and dissecting everything regarding 2.7, because this patch has been really interesting. I'm not really sure how else to put it, but it's been really interesting, especially with like Shush's existence. I'm not gonna dive too much into those. I just know that like those are the main things that have been on my mind. And yeah, if you enjoy this sort of content, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's free. It only takes a second, and if you ever feel like this is not the kind of content for you, or just find it boring, or you know, I start underperforming, you are always welcome to unsubscribe. As a whole, I want to be able to keep on improving as a content creator, and your guys' support has meant so much to me. So yeah. At number three, it's not really a gameplay mechanic, so to speak, in terms of it affecting the combat system, but it would be something that I definitely would want to see. And it is what they do in some of the Fire Emblem series, where you can have like a sort of conversation between your characters because they were partied up together. I personally enjoy this a lot because not only does it help you unlock extra little tidbits of stories, which I think would be nice to hide in between, you know, having Bronya and Sela on the same team, having freaking Sunday and Robin on the same team, even though the thing is kind of funky right now. I don't know, having Welt and Himiko, being able to get extra scenes just for the sake of you made a team that is in flavor to the design of the world. I think that would be very rewarding. It would also make it so that you care more about the characters. And I know this is more than anything done in Fire Emblem because they have the permadeath mechanic, which, for obvious reasons, they cannot add into Star Rail because, you know, we pulled and paid money for these characters. So if they suddenly died and became unusable, that would be very bad for the game. That being said, I do genuinely enjoy the sort of extra conversations. It makes it so that the characters feel even less than just pixels and become more relevant characters to the importance because they can have like touching moments with other characters. And I don't know, as a whole, I think it would be fun. And also in my notes, I put Darkest Dungeon because that they had like permadeath as well. And this is just a quick tangent because I want to say that I'm thankful. I'm so freaking thankful that Hoyo did not implement a percentage chance of missing an attack. Because, oh boy, it feels miserable doing a big combo and just seeing the word miss appear every single time. Just imagine if Firefly's empowered skill just kept on saying miss, 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 miss instead of like freaking all the little damage numbers that it does with the super break at the end. You just keep getting like little miss over and over again. I would be pissed. So I just want to make the little tangent to say I'm so happy that that isn't a mechanic, and I don't want it to be a mechanic. In fact, coming in at number two, there is something that I want to link a little bit with a previous talking point, which in this case is combo moves. And you might be wondering, like, how would Honkai Star Rail do that? And I have like a couple ideas. They wouldn't be anything like massive or super broken, but I think it would be enjoyable to see nevertheless. And it's mostly taken inspiration from this Gaia, because I remember seeing characters get special moves there whenever you had like teammates nearby. But in all honesty, the biggest inspiration, which honestly hit me after I was like looking more into it, Chrono Trigger. They have these sort of moves where your teammates act together, and it's really nice to just see it unfold. And while I know it would be a lot of work to implement a huge concept for like special moves, yada yada yada, I don't think that is something that would be appropriate for Star Rail, but I do like the idea of getting extra passives through having characters in the same team of the same faction, or you know, just kind of that have like lore relevance to one another. Like, it would be cool to get a payoff in that regard. While you might be making your team a little bit weaker, it would be nice to just see these two characters get a bonus buff, right? For example, some that came into my mind were if you have Sela and Bronya on the same team, now whenever Sela attacks, Bronya does a follow-up attack. And I feel like it would be balanced in the fact that Bronya is not meant to be a DPS, so that follow-up attack being a percentage of her original basic attack would be kind of alright, I think. Then there's also cases like Firefly and Blade. Where imagine if Firefly being able to be on the same team as Blade, now her whole in whatchamacallit full combustion mode was so strong that like it dealt damage to Blade, or you know, just the fact that she does it damage a lot. There's like a voice line that Blade says like, "Oh, like Stellar Hunter Sam makes Purgatory, having the area itself be so hot it actually damages Blade, making his passive trigger faster." Would be cool. Again, there's no reason to be bringing both both Firefly and Blade on the same team, but it would be interesting just to see Blade popping off and vice versa, something that Firefly would gain out of having Blade. That part I did not think too much through. But as a whole, I think it would be fun and flavorful. And how would you unlock these mechanics? Through the previous statement of just having these sort of like conversations with characters where you have like little bonding moments, and then afterwards you get a freaking text box message saying like you have unlocked like this passive trait or whatever. I'm probably also not with like me, now that I say it out loud, I feel like I'm also getting that inspiration from the Persona series, because that kind of happens as well with the social links with your party members. So yeah, I don't know, just having the ability to have characters bond, be happy, and then yo, you got like a bonus effect on the combat system. It would be enjoyable. And obviously again, nothing too crazy, but it would be cool to just see that being a thing. Before we actually move to the number one mechanic that I would like be implemented into the game, I want to give out a couple honorable mentions of things that would probably not be added into the game, but I think would be just kind of cool to see. And just mechanics that I want to praise from other video games. In particular, the ones that came into my mind were the press turns from Shin Megami Tensei. Genuinely adore that mechanic so much, where it rewards you for exploiting the enemy's weaknesses. That wouldn't really work too well in Star Rail's, you know, action-based combat system for turn economy, but it's something that I genuinely did like to see. Also, it would break the game. We've seen it with like the Hunt Blessings and Firefly's Eidolon too. So obviously that's too broken. No way they would ever do that. But it's something that I would love to see. Again, too broken. Bang Boos from Zenless Zone Zero. Bang Boos are just too adorable, but I feel like at that point, they're just summons. We could potentially get like a pet, like little Tuskpear, that actually follows us into combat and is considered an extra summon. But I feel like at that point, you just become a little bit pay to win. I'm not sure. So something just that it just doesn't sit right with me. And last but not least, the other mechanic that came into my mind was just like having non-combat shenanigans, and obviously that's impossible in Star Rail, but it's something that I have always adored seeing in Undertale. It's just fun getting to do the little mini game whenever the opponent attacks. But that is just me glazing Undertale, because that is low-key one of the inspirations for this video. There's another series that I'm going to be talking about in my last point. That was the true inspiration for this video. But I just want to say that I really enjoy unique kind of gameplay styles for RPGs, because it keeps things fresh and fun. Alright, last but certainly not least, coming in at number one, and the inspiration for this video, is I would like to have timed actions for the combat system. Something more akin to the Mario and Luigi franchise. In particular, because I've been having a lot of fun with that game, and recently I began to replay Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. And also I learned why I struggled reading as a child, because stuff will gaslight me into thinking words were real when they weren't. And I was learning English, so that was really bad for me. Tangents aside though, because I was literally just heading off into oblivion, I definitely would like to have timed actions, sort of like quote-unquote quick time events, but not really. And in particular is more so in the fact that it would be cool to have this in a preservation character, because it would imply that you are, pressing a button, like, I don't know, maybe spacebar, since spacebar hasn't been used for anything as far as I'm aware. Yeah, just press the spacebar button while you're getting hit, and your preservation character would make it so that the enemy hit just reflects some damage, something similar to the Quake mechanic in Simulated Universe, or, just outright takes less damage. It could be cool to just have more interactivity between the game and the player in those like dead turns, especially, and I feel like I'm speaking from my own experience, there have been moments when the opponent is just too fast. Hule. Oh yeah, the opponent is a little bit too fast, so having the ability to actually have interactivity in between you and the opponent would be really enjoyable. It would be a lot of fun. As a matter of fact, now that I'm like saying it out loud, I kind of want this to be a thing for all preservation characters. Just like if your character has a shield provided by a character from the preservation, if you just time your spacebar, boom, you take less damage, or just boom, you do a little bit of like quake damage, like to reflect them back at them, or I don't know, maybe even just make a follow-up preservation character. I just realized that is Adventurine, but yeah, just something like Adventurine, where like if you properly time it, now they do a follow-up attack just for the sake of shits and giggles. I don't know, that's just kind of something that I have found to be enjoyable from playing the Mario and Luigi series, but also it's not even like exclusive to the Mario and Luigi series. There were moments as well during Omori where you would get these sort of speech bubbles that if one of your characters attacked, then they would be doing a special move, quote unquote, and no, there's an additional move on top of like the original attack that they did, and it would benefit them or heal them or inflict an extra status effect. And I feel like that is always, it makes it feel very rewarding because it gives you more agency, more decisions, and it's something that I definitely love. Also, I know this is not a turn-based game, but it's also because of Xenoblade Chronicles too, because in there you could time your arts in order to do more damage, and that was also enjoyable. As a whole, I just feel like the game could be rewarded with having more actions made by the player, by those that, don't play in auto mode. Because, yeah, you can play in auto mode. I find it to be fun, but I like if we could get an extra reward for playing without auto mode to just reach even higher levels of endgame. Because while the endgame is already hard, and I have been struggling the hell out of it, the JRPG fan in me that has fought level 9,999 enemies in this Gaia, or gone into adventures against like really over-leveled enemies, really is craving more. I might be a psychopath. I might be a maniac. But yeah, no, I'm like, in my mind, I'm waiting for when we reach like level 110 bosses and we gain even more power to match to these enemies. So yeah, that's essentially the reason for this video. With all that being said, first of all, thank you very much for watching this video all the way up to this point. It really means a lot to me that you've been hearing me yap over and over again about all these things. I definitely would love to know, what kind of mechanic would you add into the game if you could, or some kind of like inspiration, things like that. I know I talked a lot about the gameplay mechanics, and this is partially again inspired by the fact that the Remembrance is coming soon, and I'm really hyped about it. Again, no spoilers, but yeah, like it's great that we're getting more playstyles. I want more playstyles. It keeps the game fresh, which is the main thing that I want to see for this. As a whole, I've just been having a lot of fun making Star Rail content and making these just overthinking the hell out of videos. I'm gonna do more lore again for the next couple of videos because I feel like I haven't, and I really have been craving doing lore again. But yeah, once again, if you enjoy this sort of content, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. It's free. It only takes a second, and if at any point you feel like you don't enjoy this sort of content anymore, or just what I'm doing is not up par with what you want, that is perfectly understandable. You can always unsubscribe, and it lets me know that I'm doing something wrong. Therefore, it lets me know that I need to improve, and I will be improving. So, yeah, I hope you'll have a great and fantastic rest of your day, night, morning, whatever time zone you're watching this video at, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye-bye.